Good evening. This is Tumi Tladi coming through on Friday, the 11th of June 2021. Time is 7:48 p.m. Today I'm starting a bit early. I don't know. Maybe I'm too exhausted. Okay, so I have two sessions to go through today. Now, so let me do a small introduction. Why am I doing this? I am making these videos, and then as of this afternoon I realized that, you know what, I am my own fan to a point that everything I did here is to celebrate the work that I did, you know, in a couple of months, that I put together an incredible system. So this recap is like a recap for me where I'm appreciating the good work that I did, and then I'm proud of myself because after I record and then put together some few things, you know, when I edit, after that I watch them extensively so that I can identify certain mistakes, you know, so that, you know, most of the time I laugh at myself when my English runs out of airtime and then it depletes. But that's not the point. These videos are meant for someone who like to know how good I am. I'm pretty much good. I like to believe that I'm good. When it comes to programming as a developer, I'm good. But also because it's also meant to help students in universities, particularly at CUT, you know, the first years and second years and third years. They're reaching out to me. They like me to help them, you know, figure out certain things. The one thing I will never do, I will never help anybody with their assignment. I can help you. I can teach you programming, but I'll never do it for the sake of you getting marks. I will never do so. But also for third years, because I'm working close with them right now. For Will, they're about to do, you know, build an integrated system. Having a mobile and web development, this is helpful for them to get an idea how to build something like that. Please do check out video number 0, I Notify. It's a CUT's third year IT project that we did. I did a video on that one, and then so this video is going to be video number 4. Now, I'm continuing a series of a Solution Explorer where what's in this solution. So I started with this project, Data Access Layer Targeting.NET Framework. And then yesterday I did this project, Data Access Layer Targeting.NET Core Framework. So today I'm going to go to web, as this is a milestone. So let's set this as a startup project. Now, as we continue to do this, I'm going to be talking briefly about the version control system, and then there's a series coming where I specifically focus on version control. Why do we have these logs, these bluish logs? Why are they, why do we see a tooltip that says checked in? So I'm quite excited about that one. And then also github.com/ and dev.azure.com. So these are two services. I'll cover them extensively when I do a series on services. Which services did I use to build identical dogs? So yes, I'm gonna cover them extensively. I'm excited about that one also. You see, this is Azure DevOps, and then this is GitHub. So now today we're gonna talk about, I want to finish this introduction, that also for fellow developers or anyone who's curious about wanting to start a system or building a typical web or mobile application, like I said on my overview video, this is not a pop and place. You saying you want to build a mobile or web application, a lot goes into that. And then I'm inviting you into the brains of identical dogs, that how I build it wasn't easy. You have to plan, you have to be determined, you have to be disciplined, you have to put in work. And like I said, every project that's built without version control system, I don't know. But with the version control system, it helps you. You first have to master the art of this thing. Dear recruiters, pay attention to how I build this system. Let's get down to business. Now, I'm focusing today on web. So I named this project web. It's targeting .NET framework. So as usual, let's check the properties and check exactly the framework that this project is running on. While this is loading, if you like me to show something specific, or you're curious about something specific on either the mobile application or the web application, or which framework, a specific thing, please down on comment section just write #request. Request has to be in capital letters, and then tell me which platform or which project, and tell me on that project where will you like me to focus on, and then I'll see if I cannot make a video specifically expediting the process, because I'm gonna cover almost 90% of the things I believe are gonna help somebody out there. So in the meantime, please like, share, leave any comment, and then subscribe to this video. Thank you. Now, so we know that this assembly name, and then it's targeting .NET Framework 4.7.2, and then this is, well, I don't know why they're saying it's a class library, but it's a web application because of the icon. Like I said, I never tamper with this. I don't want to know what these rest of the things, what they do. I don't want to know. And then also, I don't have a specific way of doing this. I'm not, going with a certain pattern that I've learned from YouTube, or no, I do my own thing, my own pace, my own style. And then I am raw, and I do things as honest as I can. I'm not going to hide anything. And then I'm going to tell you when there's a bug. I'm going to tell you where this is wrong. I'm going to tell you, do not do this. So yeah, let's continue. So this project, I named it web. You need to be disciplined on how you name projects. You need to be literally disciplined. Because in here, this project, it's in fact two projects. It's ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Web API in single project. It's possible. You choose one, you get the support for the other one. It's very simple. Now, to briefly see this, if we look at AutoMapper, you see that I have a specific folders where there is MVC and Web API almost everywhere. It will tell you that there's MVC, there's Web API. So today I'm going to focus on, or right now, this first part of the session, because I'm going to do both of them. But this one, on this video, I'm going to focus on the MVC. What is exactly all these files? What do they do? Okay, let's begin. I'm not going to open this file because it contains some sensitive credentials. I'm not going to say what credentials they are, but it contains some sensitive credentials. To fellow developers, what is the best way to deploy this to a web server in production without credentials attached to this project? And how do we read, credentials? I'm still looking to know how. At least in .NET Core, either MVC or Web API, you use Key Vault from Azure, because I'm all Microsoft fan. So yes, that one, it's something that I'm gonna explore as time goes by, But in a typical .NET framework, how do we do that? So I'm not gonna open this file under any circumstances. I'm gonna start with startup class. But before this, connected services, please figure out what it does. Properties, we have this assembly info as usual. It just like it gives like it tells you information about this project, like the title, the company, the product, the copyright. I'm supposed to increment this, you know, and then the version number, and then the GUID, and then that's it. The publish profile. When you publish this, this is very interesting. Version control, this way comes in. Now, when you publish this project to a web server in production, it's going to create what we call a profile, publish profile. So this is a custom one. Okay, so this way you set up information like which server it's going to go to. It's going to use FTP. It's going to be a web deploy, which type of publish methodology you're going to use or you intend to use, and then the credentials, which website to open after the success and everything. So this is what goes. I'm not going to open. Also, it carries some sensitive information. Okay, and then but there will be times where I'm going to push this into the server in production live where I'm going to publish. So only then you will see how I do it. The reason why it marked X, it's not meant to go to version control. Like it's not meant to be, it can be tracked, but it's not meant to go up either to GitHub or Azure DevOps. It's not meant to go when it's marked X. Okay, so we're done with the properties. References. So these are all the packages. I call them packages. Some of them are built in, some of them are coming from NuGet. All of them that are making up this project to work. Remember, it's both ASP.NET MVC and ASP.NET Web API. So Fluent validation, we'll talk about this package later on. File helpers, entity framework, automapper, it's an exciting thing. Signal R, yes, I at some point I did have some Signal R, and Newsoft, JSON, and so forth. And then Swashbuckle, this is for Web API to get Swagger goodness. And also, what's the critical thing? It's this project that's been referenced. Where is it? DAL. So this is a data access layer targeting.NET framework. It's been referenced also. Good, because remember, this is what manipulates a database, or what is what creates a database. This is what's responsible for the actual database. So I need access to it. Okay, cool. We're done with the references. And then start up the CS. Let me give somebody a tip. Use this class if you want to have the administrator on your website or on your web application. Let me not just say website. Websites for kids, and I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an adult. Developer. Yes. If you're gonna have an administrator somewhere in your web application, use this class to set up some default accounts for administrator and roles. Use this, and what you do, make sure that you check if the account already is created in a database. If it does exist, it will skip it, and then if not, it will create it. However, I did this and I cleaned this class. Okay, the reason being, it's because with the version control, it's keeping track of it. If I do right click right now and then go to Git and then view history, you would see that there was a code that initialized account, especially for administrator, because I do not create or register administrator. It's built-in account. Okay, but what it does right now is just to map Signal R. Yes, and we'll get later on when I do probably Signal R, but for now I disabled the feature because it's quite complex. And then we have packages. So these packages are being added through NuGet packages. Okay, when you do right click, references, you see manage NuGet packages on the project. you see manage NuGet packages. So this is a file that's responsible for keeping track of each and every packet added to this project for both MVC and Web API. So all of them are here, and their version numbers, and then the target framework. So now you know. Do not tamper this file. Please do not tamper this file. You will regret it. Do not. Global AX. Yes. So like I said, I disabled it. I want to do this feature. I'll try to talk about it when I get to the customers. You know, when you log in, what happens. I'll talk more about it, what I want to do here. So this is where I have a connection string, and this is how I program. If something is going to be a global variable, I use a line comment to say this is going to be a global variable and 2 spaces, and then these are methods. So and then when the application starts, I want to do some stuff, or it's doing some stuff. When the session starts, it should do some stuff, and then when the application ends, it should do some stuff. So I want to use this SQL dependency. It's a very interesting thing. It works, but it's a complex thing. So I commented it out, and I use a version control to track it on what I did. Okay, cool. So now we understand. And then I think that's about it, the general stuff. So let me start folder by folder. What is this folder for? App_data, this folder, and then this folder, we call them system folders. Okay, anything that you see with underscore. But before I get into that, I want to talk about these 2 folders, but I'm not going to do this one. I want to talk about this one. The folder version update underscore web. This, like I said, is targeting the MVC, and I should have been more specific to say MVC, but I started with this one first. So this is me when I started the project back in 2020, and the work I did in 2021. So when I started back in March, there should be March. There's no March. Oh no, yes, there is March. When I started back in March, on the 3rd of March 2020, was on Monday. I used this computer because I can also work on my laptop. Sometimes I work using one of the CUT's computers. So I changed the connection string setting, introducing the production server. I also introduced the version update structure to keep tabs of the version number, and I did a whole lot of work. So this is part of version control. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it. Okay, but now you know. So this is specifically, and this is how disciplined I am. This is specifically for MVC or a normal web. Okay, so now we're done. Application or app_data. Talk about this file, not now, because this file, I'll get to it when I do this project. I think after I'm done tomorrow, I'm gonna do this project, what MVC Grid is all about. Only then I can talk about this file. But just know that, yeah, this file, it's utilized by this project, and we'll see how there's a link between these 2 projects. Okay, but also this is where your actual data, like MDF, your actual database file goes in. MDF goes in here. Cool. And then app start. Now this is where the magic happens. Before I do this, so on application start, area registration, it comes from system.web.mvc.area registration, provides a way to register one or more areas in an ASP.NET MVC application. Okay, that's where you register all of them. Global configuration provides a global HTTP configuration for ASP.NET applications. And then this one, you see it says Web API config. If you look at that, yes, there is a class called Web API config. Here it is. So we are registering Web API config. And then filter configuration, you register global filters if you have any. And then route config, here you register all the routes, because ASP.NET MVC, it's a routable system according to my own opinion. And then you register the bundle config, and I will talk about this later on. You register the bundles. And then here the MVC Grid Config, you register the grids, and then I'm only going to give the high level overview of what this does when I do a specific thing on the web application. Because remember, this is a series for Solution Explorer. It's not a specific feature inside that particular application or project. Okay, so MVC Grid, this is why I registered the grids. So you will see them, the grids. And in fact, let me give you an example of this. It's fine, so you can have an idea. So identical docs.co.za. Okay, so let's give it a second. And then grid registration, you register all grids. So MVC Grid Config, you register the configuration, the grids, and then this is a grid registration. This is where this project comes in, this project. Okay, and then like I said, I want to do other stuff. So now I want not just to move without looking at this. Okay, so just quickly, let me log in with one of, okay, my system is making use of two parties other than administrator. We have the clients, so those are my clients. Those are the business or store owners. Those are the individuals. In fact, if you go to the website, these are the people. This guy, this is my client. It's a store owner or a business owner. It's someone who has the capability. You see, there's a printer here, there's a laptop, and we queue a lot of a long queue. This what I'm trying to solve, a problem. Okay, so they're called the business or store owners. Okay, cool. So what happens when this person creates account? Okay, so let me use test one because we were using this account yesterday. Test one. So this test one account. Now notice what's going to happen. So I'm going to do this. We call this authentication and authorization. When I break a specific feature, I'm going to do navigation bar. I'm going to do footer. I'm going to do what this thing is. I'm going to do this home bar. Yes, but for now, this is what I'm going to show you with the grids. This is the grid. This is the MVC grid. So it's been registered. For it to be able to show, it's been registered. That's all you need to know for now. So this is what's responsible for that. And speaking of that, I created an independent folder for that. So now MVC Grid Config. So this is what we get to register, right? It's a class that's responsible for doing that, but I will show with one later on when I do a specific thing. So most of them are for administrator, but also this one for clients. It's also somewhere here. Let's see, roles, users, businesses, feedbacks, uploads, documents. So this documents, it's that page I just showed. So we'll talk about this later on, not now. Okay, and then ninject or ninject web common. I believe this is a dependency injection system. I never really understand this what it does, but this project, it's making use of this class and then the package that comes with it. So there we have a bootstrap bus with what happens when the application starts. You know, it's gonna do some stuff. And then what happens when the application stops, and then this is where we create the kernel. All this, trust me, they're too complex for me. I'm not gonna lie, but it never gave me an issue. The one I know for sure is registering these services. Hence, I'm saying this is a dependency injection. But we'll talk about this later on. Why roles repository and roles repository. This is a dependency injection system. Okay, so that's MVC Grid. And it's for web. It's not for it's for MVC. It's not for web API. Good. And then we have the bundle config. Now the bundle config. Now this is very interesting. So bundles.add script bundle. So we're gonna go to bundles for jQuery. So here we're saying go to the folder called scripts, and we do have a folder called scripts. Okay. These are the JavaScript files making this application work, especially the MVC part. Okay, so here we're saying anything that has to do with the jQuery version, this way you're gonna register it. So all these jQuery, so this is how we bundle all these scripts into one thing, one line, to say go and register all the files that starts with jQuery. Doesn't matter the version number. We also do the same thing with a jQuery validate. There's a jQuery validate, yes. Yeah, jQuery validate. And then modernizer, like a bootstrap, we register the bootstrap. This is where we register stuff. Also, this is where I register my custom CSS files. So this gives me an opportunity, like I said. So we have a folder called content. I'm done with this one. This is where all the JavaScript files go. Do not dump JavaScript files anywhere. Also, do not dump any file in this folder. Do not do that. Be a clean developer, please. The content folder. Now, these are the default stuff, like the bootstrap, including this site or CSS, right? So this is what makes up the UI to look this incredible, but not entirely, okay? Because I created my own custom. Now the MVC Grid, again, it's making use of this folder called sh. I never understood why sh. I never understood these things. I did take a look at what's happening here. We'll do that tomorrow. What these files are. I have a folder called images. These are all the images. I have the logo. I have for myself for home about page, and I also have the icons. So these icons for 5 icons. When you view my this is very good, by the way. You need to do this. The same icon. If you look at this, it's all icon, different sizes, viewed on the different devices, different operating systems like Apple, the website, all of them. So they were generated. Okay, so this is what we see here, where I have my icon nicely appearing. Good. So we are moving, we're making progress. So I was saying, now the custom, this is where everything's customized, like a full for this for Web API, this for the about page. This index.css is for the about page. Now, what do you do when you introduce a CSS? You register it globally using this bundle.config class. So you see that there is from content. Go and check a folder called custom. You see folder called about. Register this index.css only here, and then the entire application will know when to use this index or the styles declared or styles inside this file, and then the rest. We'll do that when we break a specific portion, like I'm gonna do the reset password, what happens when you forgot your password, the login, how I style the login and what's happening there. There's some incredible stuff, the responsiveness. We'll do it later on, but this is just the high level overview. Okay, so we're done. And then we're gonna go to filter config. So this way you register all your filters if you have. Now now I'm gonna register global filters, which is handle error attribute. It's what happens when the application throws in an error. There's a nice error message that jumps in. We'll take a look at it. There's a specific view. We'll get to that one. Route config. I'm skipping this one because it's big. Now the route config. Now this is where your route to say you're gonna map this route. Okay. Now by default, name is a default. URL is gonna look for this controller called home, look for this action called index, and then the ID, look for the ID, but in this case it's optional. So what am I saying? I'm saying go and look for the controller called home. You see the index. That's why when you search for identical docs, it starts with the home page. Like this is how it runs. So I'm able to use this class to say, can we start with about page, or can we start with this documents page, the one that's currently, that was currently opened. So that's the purpose of the route config. Okay, this for Web API stuff. This Web API stuff, I'm gonna skip it. Identity config, it's a huge part of this MVC application. Okay. Now, let me explain to the best of my knowledge. It's a very important file. This is why I say you need version control. You cannot make some stupid changes in here and then say and claim it was a mistake. You need version control to discipline you. Okay, so first and foremost, we have a class called email service. Okay, it inherits from identity message service. So it exposes, it's an API. It exposes a way to send messages, for example, email or SMS. Okay, and I have only one method called send async, and it's an asynchronous method that takes in identity message. We will look at this when we show how to send an SMS, especially with the two-factor authentication. Identity message is an object. This object, it has a couple of properties. Let's give it a second. It has the destination where it's going, like the email or SMS phone number. It has the subject, it has the body. Yeah, it has those three. So, but I will show when do we get to use, because you can see one reference there. Okay, now what I did is that I have my own custom plugin. I call it a plugin or no, an API. Sorry, an API for email. So this one is for email. That's why it's called email service. Now, I have my own backend of email API. It's a class. I'll show this when I show specific feature for this one. Plug in your email service here to send an email. So it's a custom class, my own class. Okay. It has a method called email API, returns void. It takes in email, string email. It takes in where it's supposed to go. It takes in the subject and then the body. So this is what I'm passing. And I also have the SMS service. It inherits from the same identity message service, and then with the same method, send async with the same object name. And then plug in your SMS service here to send a text message. So also I have a custom class called the backend of SMS API. This is a class that is responsible for sending the actual SMSs, and I will do a live demo for that one. And I have a method called SMS API that takes in phone number of type string, body of type string, use internal body. It's a unique thing of type Boolean. And you will see how I get to use it as a reference. Okay, and then we have a class called application user manager. It inherits from user manager. This is part of identity. It's built in, okay, that accepts in or passes through application user. This is what it's responsible for the user's account. Okay, constructor, and then we have the method create. And then what it does, it's gonna configure the validation logic for username. What should happen with the usernames? So it should only allow alphanumeric usernames. It should require unique email, and then you can configure the validation logic for password. This is how I configure that. My password are 8 minimum. It's 8. The length is 8. It requires non-letter digit, yes. It requires digit. It requires lowercase. It requires uppercase. That's the logic for a password. And then I configure the user logout, yes. If a user tries to, I'll show this also. It's a specific feature. Configure user logout defaults. So user logout enabled by default, yes. If you try to log in multiple times, it's gonna kick you out. This is for security purposes. And then default account logout time span 8 minutes, only when you've tried three times, and the fourth time is gonna log you out, and then for 8 minutes, so it's short. And then here, register two-factor authentication providers. Okay, so these are the provider for two-factor authentication. Like when you have enabled them to say your security code is, and then we'll see that for phone, for SMS, and then for email, we will see that it's working. And this is where I register my email service and the SMS service. And then this one, configure the application sign-in manager, which is used in this application. What happens when you sign in? Okay. And then add application role manager to allow the management of roles. Like you see this guy, it's logged in, and then he has access to 1, to 3 as a person who has been assigned a specific role, but administrator has one access but has access to all of them. You'll see that later on, but this is how you set up your system to handle the role-based system. Okay, then we have startup.auth. Startup.auth, this is where you configure the DB context, user manager, and sign-in manager to use a single instance per request. Okay, and yeah, you heard about that. This is where we add the role manager, and this is where we register it. And then enable application to use cookie to store information for the sign-in user, and yeah, and then enable application to temporarily store user information when they verify the two-factor authentication. So that cookie lasts for 5 minutes. Okay, yeah, but it's a very important class though. I'm just doing the high-level overview. The rest I'm gonna skip because they belong to Web API. Automapper. So which one starts first? Let's see. Okay, let me come to fonts. These are system fonts. We're done. What else? Contracts. I'm not gonna get inside it because it's for Web API. Media. Okay, I'll talk about media later on. Pages. This is for Web API. I'm not gonna talk about it now. Validators. This is for Web API. I'm not gonna talk about it here. It has nothing to do with MVC. View models. There's MVC portion, views, there are MVC portion. So I'm not gonna go through everything, but let's do with the basic. Controllers. So how I design, because it's 2 project types in one. So we have MVC, we have Web API, and then we have both of them. They share about, contact, homepage, but not necessarily, because Web API is independent. It doesn't have about, doesn't have contact, it doesn't have homepage, but it doesn't matter. The point is that these are independent. The stuff that are MVC are in here, the stuff that are Web API in here. So home controller, yeah, we know stuff like home controller, you know, it's just the controller, and then it has the view, and then it has this custom operations, and then we'll talk about the authorized attribute. You see, this is the administrative role. It's okay. There's nothing you can do with this role. You'll never know how it works and everything, because like I said, I'm being transparent. Okay, so that means I'm locking these operations only for administrator. Okay, so I think this makes sense. But these are the basic stuff like home, about, and then contact. And then also with the views, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time doing this. So if I go for home, there has to be a home folder. So these are corresponding actions, views for those actions, index, and then operations. Okay, cool. We'll come back to this one. So, but let me go to more specific ones for MVC. Okay, must read. This must read, it's needed by a mobile application. So protection controller, what does it do? So protection controller, it has this view, or should I say this action method called terms of service. I needed this for mobile application. This is why I did it. And then, okay, this is very interesting. Almost all my controllers, this is how I do it, okay? They have this helper methods. So I have my own custom. You see that thing, that green thing that says you have successfully logged in, the username or password was invalid. That is a custom notification toast. It's custom. So this is how I get to say, you know what, this is gonna be for alert info, and then it will say please note, and then pass in the message. Okay, and this is where the message comes in. And let's do this. Let me show what I'm talking about. So / if I hit enter, so these are terms of service. I think there's a link for that somewhere down here. For some reason we cannot see it. because we need protection. No, it's a protection controller first. Sorry about that. And then we'll talk about the 404 it handler, but it's happening in web API, web config file, of which I cannot show. Where what happens if the user tries to go to a page that doesn't exist. So this is what happens. 404. So if I do protection, so this is the controller and this is the action. So now you can see terms of service. And then this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. So these are my alerts, notification alerts. So you see that almost all the controller, they have this helper methods, almost all of them. So I still need to finish this thing. So this when because this is necessary for mobile application, Okay. So I was saying what happens when I add something. It should not show that, it should show this custom. So I programmed it that show a friendly nice message. Okay, GitHub has that, Google has that, Microsoft has that, I also have that. Okay, so I just want to show that yeah, it does have this. Okay, cool. That's must read. Now this is a role called clients. So this is for people, business or store owners. Okay, it's meant for them. Oh, I even have 2 4 slashes. This is not right, but it doesn't matter. So I have a role called client. I also have a role called identical docs crew. So this is administrator, and then these are my clients. The customers, they are their clients. Okay, and then I have account controller. I have manage controller. So the clients, these are controls specifically for this person who logged in. See these business, access pin, documents, and they are meant for this person who's my client. Access pin, business, documents, they're the ones that are general, like subscription. If it ended, what happens? Services, the ones that they support copying, printing, and then general services. You see that when I do a specific feature like breaking it into pieces, what happens? Yeah, because I'll be showing the code, like I said, showing the code, the view, and explaining how I came about it. So now you understand. The administrator, I controlled all the businesses. I have access to the services for those businesses. I have access to all the trading hours for those businesses. I have access to access pins, cities, feedbacks, genders, phone numbers, provinces, roles, subscription, users. I do CRUD, I control them. I have access to startups, which is a version update. I'm excited about that one. I have access to uploads. Every file that was uploaded, I do have access to it. I have access to every voice messages that were sent by the clients to the customers. So now you understand what's happening with controllers. Now we're done. So the views, these are the corresponding views for all those controllers. For both, most of them are for, actually all of them are for MVC, all of them. But like I said, if I do uploads, I'll get in here, we'll look at what's happening with all of this. Yeah, so that's the view. And then I have the view models, because the controllers, they work with the models and the view models. Let's go to the models first. It's a bit complicated system, or actually it's only for MVC Grid, but I'll explain that in a second. Let me go to view models. View models, I don't have view models for Web API because I don't need it. Again, so the view models, this is how I categorize my stuff for readability. So anything that has to do with account, like login, register, if you forgot your password, two-factor authentication, if you want to add a phone number, if you want to verify a phone number, all of them are in here. They're part of account. So there's account view model, manage view model. We'll take a look at that later on when we look at the code, specific code. So just know that this is where they're gonna be, because I need you to understand what I'm saying, so that when I break the code, you should know where the class lives and what's happening. And then anything that has to do with the clients, like I said, the role clients, these are all their view models. And do you see something here? I do things in a cleaner way. I create folders to say this addresses the topic of access pin. So also the view models that address the topic of access pin. These controllers folder addresses business related controllers like trading hours and everything. Also the view models, they address that. So I'm very tidy and clean programmer. That's how I do myself. So these are the view models, and we'll talk about why the view models. These are everything has to do with the administrator, and we'll talk about that later on. Okay, we are done with this folder. Done. I'm not gonna do this. We're done. I said I should come to the models. So the models, so this is what makes up the MVC grid. For this thing to appear the way it appears, you see when there's data, and then what happens when there's actual data. Like I said, this is not about a specific feature here. This is just to show what I'm talking about. All these things, having to have page size, you know, this drop down, all of this. I'll talk about that, having to search, having to filter stuff, you know, having to go to next, having to show all of that. The model controls everything that has to do with it. Okay, so like I said, when I do that specific thing, I would explain these classes what they do according to my best ability, because they come from this project. Specifically, it's a big project, this one. Okay, and then like I said, I attempted to do signal R, and then I stopped, and then I will try to explain why I stopped and everything. Cool. So that's the models. What am I leaving? Automap, I know it's still coming. Contracts, no, it's for Web API only. Fonts, helpers. Let me talk about the helpers first, and then media. We need to come to media, and I think I'll be done. And then validators, no, it's for Web API. Yeah, I think I'll be done. So let me start with the helpers. So you see, these are classes. Backend for email API, like I'll do it. Okay, the passwords are not here. Okay, they're coming from web config file. Oh my goodness, but I'll talk about this class, what it does. Backend of SMS API, I'll also talk about the credentials coming from the config file, but I'll talk about what it does. This is what's responsible for sending the actual SMS from the service called bulk SMS. Okay, now you know what's happening. And then I do have a specific helper classes for MVC, and then these are my global variables. So in anything that I do, there's some sensitive stuff in there. It's fine. So now I know there's some sensitive stuff in there. Okay, and then utilities, and we'll talk about these utilities, the big part of the system. This class called utilities, where I say get one gender, you know, get one gender, and what we do here, and this is the goodness of entity framework. Where does it work? Get gender by gender ID. You know, I passing the ID, gender ID, I get is the gender male, female, or other, and then yeah, get one province, and then get province by province ID version 2, and then everything here. You see, if you look at the references that are being used somewhere, so I'll try to come to these methods in this class called utilities as soon as I'm busy with, or the moment I'm busy with that specific functionality or specific feature. So it's a big part of the system, especially about get Monday, Tuesday, and all that. Yeah, I went nuts here. So yeah, I'll come to this later on. So this is the MVC helpers. I'm not gonna do this. It comes next. And let me do. Okay, we left with two things. I'll finish with the media in a second. Now, AutoMapper. Please do your own research on what AutoMapper is. But version control system helped me to understand AutoMapper. And then I'll show in detail how is it helpful and handy. Just know that I do have AutoMapper, and a big shout out to Mr. Admire, sir. I remember on LinkedIn, I was posting some of the code. You asked if wouldn't it be nice if I use Automapper ever since then. And that wasn't the first time when you said that recently. And I knew that this could mean a lot for my career as a software developer or a programmer, that I know how to use Automapper. So I use it for administrator, and it's a very interesting thing. Let me give the glimpse of access pins. So access pins profile, and then I create the map, and then this is where I use those view models. So I'm saying you see, meaning that the access pin, which is coming from this actual table, I'm saying I want you to map the properties in here to this view model, and I'm gonna return these properties from this class, and then we're gonna protect this one. This is why we have the view model. Like I said, I'm having the high level overview, but I'll try to go deeper. But if you like me to spend time on explaining Automapper, please do shout out to me, and I'll do so. It does have the reference, if you look at it, 2 references, access pin profile. So this is Automapper. I have Automapper for gender. I have Automapper for almost everything. The roles, some of them they have 2 maps, subscriptions, so this is how I keep my code clean. So that's the topic of Automapper. If you like for me to make a specific video showcasing Automapper, please use hashtag request on the comment section below, and then I'll be sure to do so. Okay, lastly, the media. If you look at these folders, they're empty. So let me explain what they do. The uploaded audios, these are the actual voice messages. This is where they're going to be stored from the mobile application through Web API, but I'm storing them in this project. Remember, Web API is also in this project. So these are the actual physical files, and we'll talk about that later on, but it's important there's a file in here. These are the actual documents, PDF, images, Word documents, PowerPoint documents, TXT documents. This is where they get to be saved on the server, like the physical files, and they are on the server. The downloads, now this is me having to download, wait, let me not lie, but I know the purpose of this. Is it for me, administrator? Yes, it's for me, I believe, administrator. Yeah, something like that. But I know this folder is very important. I think in a nutshell, this was what's happening with this guy, which is MVC, Social Explorer MVC. And then next up I'm gonna do Web API. It's gonna be the shortest video. I think that's it. I think we are done. So at least this gives somebody an idea how the structure or project structure, how I went about this project structure. And yeah, so now we're just gonna have to do the Web API right after this. So it's gonna be, I'm gonna record video number 5 because this one is number 4. So yeah, let me just log out to keep things clean and ready for me. Cool. I think I hope that this session was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it makes sense, and I hope to see you next time. And please watch these videos and only then create a request, and I'll be sure to go in detail, because there are certain things I'm going to go in detail, specific things I'm going to go in detail. And this is what it takes to build this system, and then I understand everything I built. And again, no one helped me to build this project. It's only the advice that I heard over time that I made use of them. Other than that, no one helped me. I built this all by myself. With that being said, thank you very much.